All right, today we're going to journey deep inside your own body. I mean, way down to the cellular level. We're going to unlock an ancient, incredibly powerful engine that's been running for over 1 billion years. We're talking about the Krebs cycle. So let's get into it. So just think about this for a second. Your last meal, maybe it was a salad, maybe a burger, maybe some pasta. Your body has this incredible ability to take all those completely different things, carbs, fats, proteins, and somehow funnel them all into one single source of energy. I mean, how on earth does it do that? How does it unify all these different fuels? Well, the answer is this amazing process right here, the Krebs cycle. And honestly, the best way to picture it is like a central furnace. It's the one place where the broken down bits of pretty much everything you eat all end up. They get tossed into this furnace and are burned down into two main things: carbon dioxide, yep, the very stuff you're breathing out right now, and these super important high-energy molecules we call energy carriers. Okay, so it breaks stuff down. Simple enough. But here's where it gets really interesting. This cycle isn't just about demolition. It's not just about destruction and energy. It's actually more like a metabolic two-way street. It gives us energy, for sure, but it also helps build new life. You can really see its two big jobs here. On the one hand, you've got what's called catabolism. That's the breaking down part, where it burns fuel for energy. But on the other hand, it's also anabolic. That's the building up part. See, the molecules inside the cycle can actually be pulled out and used as the basic building blocks, the carbon skeletons for making all sorts of new things the cell needs, like amino acids. Now, this creates a fascinating little problem for the cell. I mean, think about it. Imagine you have a car engine that's running, but you keep reaching in and pulling out spark plugs and pistons because you need them to build something else. What do you think is going to happen to that car? Yeah, exactly. It's going to stall. If you keep pulling out the essential parts to build other stuff, the cycle literally runs out of components. The whole thing just grinds to a halt. And for a cell, well, that would be catastrophic. So how does it solve this problem? It uses something called Anaplerotic reactions. I know, it's a mouthful, but really, it just means refill reactions. These are dedicated pathways whose only job is to top off the tank, to replenish the parts of the Krebs cycle. A classic example is taking pyruvate, which comes from breaking down sugar, and converting it directly into oxaloacetate, a key part of the cycle. It's like having a mechanic on standby, constantly making sure the engine has all the parts it needs to keep running at full tilt. Now, to really appreciate why this whole system is so mind-blowing, we have to take a trip way, way back in time. We're talking billions of years ago, to a time when the very air we depend on to live, oxygen, was a deadly planet-altering poison. See, for the first billion years or so, life on Earth got along just fine in an oxygen-free world. But then, around 2.4 billion years ago, bam, a new kind of photosynthesis evolves. And its waste product? Oxygen. For all the life that existed back then, this was an absolute apocalypse. This toxic new gas flooded the world and caused one of the biggest mass extinctions ever, the Great Oxidation Event. And this danger was no joke. Oxygen is incredibly reactive. It's a chemical wrecking ball. It just attacked these early cells, shutting down their most important enzymes and literally punching holes in their membranes. Life had a very simple choice: adapt or die. So what happened? Well, the adaptation that saved everything wasn't some small genetic tweak. No, it was one of the most incredible partnerships in the history of life. It was a deal struck between two cells that would change the world forever. Here's how it went down. You had a big, ancient host cell that was going around eating other smaller microbes. One day, it swallowed a very special little bacterium. This one was different. It had actually evolved a way to not just survive in oxygen, but to use it to create massive amounts of energy. So instead of being digested, it made the host an offer it couldn't refuse. You protect me, you give me resources, and in return, I will pump out so much energy you won't know what to do with it. And that little bacterium became the mitochondrion, the powerhouse in all of our cells. This one event was a total game changer. Life went from hiding from oxygen to harnessing its incredible power. It was a revolution that fueled bigger, more complex, more energetic forms of life. And the Krebs cycle? Well, it sits right at the heart of this new super-powered way of living. Okay, so the Krebs cycle has done its job. It's produced all those high-energy carriers we talked about.
But think of those carriers like paychecks. They're valuable, but you can't really spend them yet. You have to take them to the bank to cash them in. And the cell's bank is this stunning piece of machinery that works just like a microscopic power turbine.
It's called the electron transport chain. Here's how it works. The energy carriers, the NADH, they show up and drop off their payload of high-energy electrons. These electrons then get passed down a line of proteins, almost like a bucket brigade or a game of hot potato. Every time they get passed along, a little burst of energy is released. The cell uses that energy to do just one thing: pump protons across a membrane, building up this incredible pressure, just like water building up behind a giant dam. And get this, the scale of this is amazing. For every single one of those energy carrier molecules that shows up, 10 protons get pumped across that membrane. 10! That's a massive amount of potential energy just stored up, waiting to be unleashed. So what happens to all that stored up energy? It all gets funneled through this machine, ATP synthase. And I really want you to appreciate this. When I say this is a motor, I'm not using an analogy. This is a literal, physical, rotating motor. It is actually spinning inside your cells by the trillions right this second.
So here's how the turbine works. The protons that got pumped out now rush back in through a channel in this motor, and that powerful flow forces a central part of the motor to spin at incredible speeds, thousands of RPMs. And as it spins, it acts like a tiny blacksmith, physically ramming a phosphate group onto another molecule, ADP, to forge a brand new molecule of ATP. That's it. That's the energy currency that powers basically everything you do.
Now here's a cool little detail. For decades, biology textbooks said you get 3 ATP molecules for every 1 NADH. But now we know the accounting is a bit more precise. When you factor in the shipping and handling costs of getting everything where it needs to go, the actual number is closer to 2.5. It's a small change, but it just shows you how beautifully efficient and fine-tuned this whole system really is. So let's bring it all back home. That oxygen you're breathing in right now, that's the final destination. It's what accepts those electrons at the very end of a line, allowing the whole engine to keep running. Which means that every single breath you take is the final act in this unbroken story. A story of energy, evolution, and partnership that began on a toxic alien world over 2 billion years ago. And it's all playing out trillions of times a second right inside of you. Isn't that just incredible?